Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Jet. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Lines. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. We got a couple stories to talk about with NASCAR once again. Let's roll into it. The Daytona 500 coming up next February. We know some returning stars like 7-time champion Jimmie Johnson. We know he'll be in the Daytona 500. But how about a new contender, an international star from IndyCar? The Spider-Man, Brazilian driver Helio Castroneves, a 4-time Indy 500 champion, looks like he will be competing in the Daytona 500 next February. Although it hasn't been confirmed yet, Adam Stern reports that Helio Castroneves is getting closer to a deal to race in the 2023 Daytona 500 plus several SRX races, according to the CEO of SRX, Donald Hawk. Teams said to have been in the running for Daytona are Trackhouse Racing and the Money Team Racing. Now, the Money Team Racing more likely will be the 50 car or Project 91. Remember that whole new thing that that Trackhouse is doing with Justin Marks, bringing in international drivers? Last year brought in Kimi Räikkönen from Formula One to Watkins Glen. They said they would continue running it this year. And it looks like Castroneves is a front runner potentially to drive the 91 car in the Daytona 500. Now we have to go back on how all of this even started. I believe it was an SRX race. I think it was Nashville. I could be wrong with that, but it was a race where Castroneves made a deal with Donald Hawk saying that if he were to win an SRX race, Hawk would give him an opportunity to race in the Daytona 500. Castroneves obviously won that race. That race being Five Flag Speedway, not Nashville. It was Five Flag Speedway, the first race of the SRX season of 2022. Won that race and now has this opportunity to compete in the Daytona 500. Now, obviously, with Castroneves competing in NASCAR, what are the chances of maybe a double? I don't know. It's very difficult considering the fact that, you know, the way Castroneves' IndyCar schedule lines up with NASCAR may be a bit tricky, but who knows, depending on how this experience goes in the Daytona 500 and considering the fact that Castroneves has now a little bit of experience racing with cars with fenders, could the possibility be there to do the double? I mean, Castroneves is a racer and wants to race anything, it seems, this late into his career. It's an opportunity that I don't think he would turn down, and it's something that I think we should take a serious look at. Now, this would also do something with the entry list for the Daytona 500. Currently, at the moment, we have 39 cars that are expected to try to get into the 500. Castroneves coming into the race would bump it up to 40. So already we would have, if Castroneves is going to have a car, if he is scheduled to have a car with Trackhouse Racing or the Money Team Racing, that entry list will open up to 40 cars. Now, obviously, there could be some new developments that could be, you know, that could take place later down the line. Let's say Castroneves does go to Trackhouse. Well, then that leaves a spot open for the Money Team Racing. They can maybe bring back Kaz Grala or bring back Greg Biffle or bring in another driver. If that's the case, then we will have a knockout. Someone will go home in Thursday's dual races if we can have at least more than 40 drivers participating in this race. Currently at the moment, we have 39. Castroneves will hit the limit of 40. But yeah, personally, I would love for Castroneves to come into the Daytona 500. I've always loved to see international drivers. Doesn't matter who it is, just international drivers come into NASCAR, and especially coming at the biggest race of the season. You know, like with Jacques Villeneuve, a former Formula One world champion, came into NASCAR and, you know, was able to run the Daytona 500. It was a big deal. And having a driver like Castroneves come into NASCAR would be huge for the sport and nothing but a positive. Especially when you consider the fact that NASCAR just recently announced a partnership to form the NASCAR Brazil Sprint Race. Having a Brazilian driver like Castroneves, who is undeniably huge over in Brazil, would do wonders to kickstart that international program and NASCAR's presence in Brazil. And next up is Fox Sports and their NASCAR coverage. We know that this year they tried something new. Instead of having a 3-man booth full time, they had Mike Joy, Clint Boyer, and a rotating third person. They had people like Dale Jr. was in Talladega, Danica Patrick, Matt Kenseth, Tony Stewart. I think there were also a couple other drivers. Jeff Gordon did Atlanta, I believe. They had numerous drivers come in to fill in that third spot. And some of the guests were really good. Some weren't that good, but it did offer a change of pace every weekend, which kept it somewhat interesting. However, for 2024, things may be different. Currently at the moment, there is speculation on whether Kevin Harvick will retire at the end of the 2023 season. And if that is the case, according to Adam Stern, more than likely Kevin Harvick will take over to be the third full man group. Now, this would also be interesting considering the fact that Fox's deal with NASCAR ends at the end of 2024. If that is the case, more than likely this shows that Fox is committed to NASCAR for a new TV deal. You're not just going to hire a guy for 1 year and then release him after that. If Fox were to hire Kevin Harvick for 2024, if Harvick were to retire, that is also a sign that Fox would love to renew their TV rights deal with NASCAR for the next TV deal in 2025. Now, I think that Kevin Harvick would be a really good commentator. He has done a lot of races either as a lead commentator during their drivers only broadcast or as a side commentator in the Xfinity Series. He has done, I think, a really good job, and I think he'd be a great addition to the booth. Even though, me personally, I think I would like to see Larry Mack or Jamie McMurray be part of that third man booth, at least for this year full time, especially Jamie McMurray, because I think his knowledge, he is professional. He tells you what's going on in detail, and explains the picture about what's going on really good, better than a lot of other drivers that did that rotating booth thing last year. So would have loved to see Jamie Mack come on full time or Larry McReynolds, but if 2024 comes and Harvick is retired, I think having Harvick into the Fox booth would be a great addition. But that's it for this episode. It's a quick episode, but what are your thoughts on Helio Castroneves? More than likely potentially to run the Daytona 500. How do you think he will do in his first NASCAR race? And do you think that this could be the start of something new for Castroneves to maybe participate in even more NASCAR races down the line? Maybe can he do the double? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thanks for watching.